got a girlfriend?
Yeah, I got a girlfriend.
You gonna get cheat codes?
I don't know.
Never get cheat codes. It's April 21st, everybody. 2016. Welcome to episode 93 of the Cheat Codes Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We're always excited to have you with us. The next hour is us drinking a few beers and going over our favorite bits from the past week in video game tech and pop culture news. My name is Joe Erskine, and I am your host. We're coming to you from the back of a motorcycle hurtling through Minneapolis in the rain because our dad was a dick and now he's dead.
Jeez.
Time to become rock gods. Look, have you guys seen... All right, whatever. Today I'm here with Cheat Codes producer and editor, Mr. Joe Apollonia Arroyo.
Hi.
Cheat Codes contributor, Mr. Nick Nicky Golish.
Hey, how's it going?
That worked out.
And Cheat Codes community manager and boss key game designer, Mr. Chris Morris Day Morris.
What? Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's keep going.
And we're very excited to have the partner Twitch streamer known as Darkness429, Mr. Tim the Kid Havlock.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, thanks for being here, dude. Today on the show... Oh, absolutely. Today on the show, we're going to mix red and blue precipitation to get to the main topics. Alex St. John had some interesting things to say this week with his comments about dev attitudes to compensation and crunch. We'll look at the idea that quitting your day job to make a stab at your dream job may not be all it's cracked up to be, with the game industry in mind, of course. Ubisoft is taking action against the players who abused a glaring exploit in their recent major incursion update. For today's lightning round, we'll get some backing support from the Revolution to make sense of the following bits. There's an upgraded PS4 in the works. And lastly, we'll ponder GameStop's arrival in the game publishing space. Yikes. Kind of crazy. Tim, thank you so much for being here, sir. You're officially the first partnered streamer we've ever had on the show. Thanks for breaking our cherry. Let's get married.
Oh. let's go. Let's do it.
All right, great. Talk to us a little bit about your stream, what you like to showcase, and let the folks who don't know in on your special flavor of game showcasting.
Cool. Yeah. My name's Tim, aka Darkness429. I've been streaming on Twitch for a little over 2 years now. Just past my 2-year anniversary for being partnered on Twitch as well. So I got partnered in the first 4 months of streaming, which is pretty awesome.
That is right.
Yeah. And I stream a lot of shooters. So the first game that I streamed a lot of on Twitch was Titanfall. So that's really what grew channel and built an audience around that. So that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years, just playing a lot of shooters and having fun on Twitch.
So how did that ramp up so quick in the first few months?
I guess it's just a lot of consistency. Finished college. My wife and I moved down to South Florida, and Twitch was kind of a way for me to kind of vent. You know, I was finishing some classes at one of the local universities and had a really crappy part-time job at Best Buy, which I hated. Absolutely.
Monster cables, guys. Monster cables.
It was I sold PCs, and I felt like this sleazy car salesman for computers. And Twitch was a great way for me to just kind of forget about the day and kind of just interact with people. You know, it was a really cool way to interact with people that would tune in. So it kind of just took off. It was really weird how it happened. It started making money, and I was able to go full time. So it was sweet.
That's cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
We got a lot in common
that,
because when we were all finishing college, that's when we started this podcast about 2 years ago, and
cool.
That's kind of been the same track record for us for sure. So, well. Thanks for being here, man. We're excited to have you. Thank you for making the time. Really quickly, let's talk about what we're washing the episode down with. Before cleansing ourselves in the chilly waters of Lake Minnetonka or doing a podcast, we have to fortify ourselves appropriately with a few drinks. This week, we're sampling some Mamba ales made with black tea and tangerines and by the folks at Gilgamesh Brewing. Perfect for the warm weather that we're enjoying lately up here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. It's unseasonably warm.
Yeah, if you
delightful.
know us well on the show, you know that this is totally out of the ordinary for us to drink tangerine black tea ale, but it's fucking hot. It's been really hot.
It's a barbecue kind of beer.
Yeah.
It's an outdoor in the sun kind of beer for sure. But jokes aside, for a quick second, we should probably have a toast to celebrate the late Prince. It's a hell of a loss, man. 2016, not a great year for musicians out there, unfortunately. Between Bowie and Lemmy and, like I said, Glenn Frey, if you're an Eagles fan, and a handful of others. But fuck, man.
Everyone was just hanging on till that Back to the Future year, and then after that, nobody knew what to do.
Yeah, that's kind of right. But cheers to Prince, and we're theming the episode appropriately.
Yep.
in his honor. So, cheers, Tim.
Cheers.
And everyone, hopefully at home, has a beer in hand. Otherwise,
if not, then
just wait patiently. Okay.
In spirit, it's good. All right. So plenty to talk about today. Let's have at it.
Number one.
For reasons that remain irrelevant, Alex St. John posted a rather interesting op-ed showcasing his thoughts on the game industry's attitudes towards crunch and compensation. What he had to say specifically, we'll touch on shortly, but the long and short of it was this, and in his own words, quote, I can't begin to imagine how sheltered the lives of modern technology employees must be to think that any amount of hours they spend pushing a mouse around for a paycheck is really demanding strenuous work. I've hired thousands of people over the years and can't help but notice the increasing frequency with which I encounter people with a wage slave attitude toward making video games. Okay, so let's all take a deep breath. Seeing as how, we're all gainfully employed within the games industry to some degree or another, and let's think about what was said, and the article itself, his initial statements before we kind of move forward
With what's developed, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what, reactions?
Is this just a grumpy old man?
Yes.
Just being grumpy and assuming that like all these young bastards coming into the industry that have this different mentality about it are going to change the way that I feel about it, and therefore I need to vent for a moment? And that's what all this was?
Go ahead.
I just the first step I guess would I would take would be like, does he have any validity in anything he's saying?
Well,
and I guess
yes, he does. Yes, he
Yeah.
does.
yeah, he does in some sense, and some of it is a lot about like, I guess it was millennials or something complaining about their jobs, and they want to actually. He's complaining about how they feel maybe more entitled to be able to get more than what they're actually getting, and they're complaining about like the amount of work that they have, and I
sort of not.
well, I know it's sort of or something, but it's just kind of like it was a bit weird the way he approached it from my point of view. I guess like it didn't seem like
It wasn't.
It definitely seemed kind of out of nowhere a little bit.
It wasn't
to kind of just show up.
helpful is the problem. Like when you write an op-ed like that, and if you actually have an end goal of bettering the industry, then you wouldn't write it in such a, like, I feel like he wrote this behind a screen door and he was yelling at kids on his lawn while he was typing.
yeah.
Because that's how it comes across to me.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
like, you fucking kids and
Right, get
video
off my
games.
lawn,
Like,
that kind of
it's
thing,
silly. There's a way to probably do that constructively, and he probably has some really good points hiding in there, but no one wants to listen to you when you do it that way. Even his own daughter didn't want to. Let's just...
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, but this is kind of one of my arguments about this article is that there are times when it almost seems that he's making like a salient point, and that he literally like sinks his own ship by saying something overly like combative or offensive or just like, dude, really? Like if you honestly feel this way, I don't know. He makes a lot of statements about how, yes, Nick, to your point, millennial. I'll get around, but I want to make some context here. How millennials seem to have this kind of entitlement thing, or that's at least kind of like what he's alluding to about their hours and about what they're getting compensated. And he seems to believe that starving artists make art for the sake of making art, not because of what they're getting paid. We're gonna touch upon that too. But gentlemen, Chris, or Tim. Chime in here because there's a lot going on here.
I'll let Tim have the floor first, and then I have a few things to say.
I mean, it's hard for me, for someone in my position. I mean, I play the games. I don't make them, so I don't know what it's like, other than talking with developers from their point of view, what it's like, and the hours that are put in. I mean, I really don't know what kind of money they're making. I mean, I know some guys that work at DICE in Stockholm, Sweden, and I mean that's one of the most expensive places to live in Europe. And so I mean it's hard for them living over there and making video games. And they work really, really long hours, especially when it comes towards the end of the development period. I mean they're putting in like what it says, like 80 hours in a week, which to me is insane. I couldn't imagine doing 80 hours in a week, sitting in front of their doing play tests and coding and all that stuff. So I mean that's crazy, and I feel like it's fair for them to think that they deserve a little bit more than what they're getting. I mean, when it's saying that they're you said starving artists, like okay. I mean, that's just showing that you're passionate, but at the same time, you still need to be able to pay for your family and
Right.
your house and groceries. So
Right.
He definitely does sound like a grumpy old man for sure.
Right? Isn't that the
Most
problem with the
definitely.
term in the first place? The fact that starving artist is a term, and then if you
Yeah.
you already say like you're a starving artist, that means you have to be okay starving is just a weird
No.
Right.
concept.
He uses it in a way that's
No.
like they accept that reality, not that they want to live like that. Nobody wants to live like that. You know what I mean?
There's a difference between being passionate for what you do,
Right.
and just not getting paid for it. Like these people are working for AAA. Most of them are working for AAA industry companies. I feel like they should deserve a decent paycheck.
I was going to just say, like, 80 hours. Like, oh, you should be okay with 80-hour work weeks.
He does say that literally.
He does
In
say that.
any industry, is that okay? Like, I feel
No.
like...
No, it shouldn't be.
Like
It should not be.
Should I
It
see-
shouldn't be
spending-
cultivated. Once in a while, it may be necessary, but it should not be a norm. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, what he's saying to sort of justify it, right, is that making games is like this entrepreneurial like pursuit, and if you want to work normal hours, then go make productivity software or whatever. But he's kind of
nice shot
missing the
to
point that
Microsoft
like
there, yeah.
it's entrepreneurial in the sense that the person starting the studio is the entrepreneur, and everybody else is just like an employee, right? So like an employee should have a reasonable expectation to like work reasonable hours and get compensated appropriately for their work in relation to any other potential job they could be doing with the skills that they have. And I mean, this one bit where he's like talking about listening to people complain about long hours and their paychecks is like they're trapped in a disenfranchised third world country forced to dig for blood diamonds to feed their families. Like what a ridiculous comparison, right? It's like people, they complain about the things that are like relevant to them. So yeah, I mean, like if I'm working like 80 plus hours a week and like I'm completely like emotionally, physically drained, I mean, yeah, sure. Like I'm probably going to have a couple things to complain about. Like that's probably pretty fair. I mean, I think anyone would. Like the dude working at McDonald's 80 hours a week probably would be complaining like pretty heavily as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that actually bothered me about this was the way he treated employees in his speech. The way he talked about these people that he employed, these thousands of people or whatever, was the idea of like they were just an expendable resource for his
Yes.
entrepreneurship,
Yes.
which is the part where it's like,
Right.
are you fucking serious? Like
It's like churn and burn your employees, and then
it was never.
find like
yeah.
the Asperger's nerds and take care of the wives and
them.
girlfriends.
In some way? Yeah.
No, there was no like no attempt to even be like this is a collegial or like we work together as a thing. It was me addressing the peons of the industry in a way that your attitude makes my job harder in some way, or like I went through this thing, so you should too, so that we can all stand and somehow like represent a minority of people.
And the fact that you do
unfortunately,
this,
it's not a minority of people, and let me be clear, because the attitude that he has about it, I think, is in the minority based at least on the public reaction. But at the same time, like, you know what it sounded like to me? As it's like I'm like like the 8th year senior and I'm the president of the fraternity and have been like throughout, and I want to make sure that every pledge gets fucking hazed at the same way that I did, so that and love it and want to keep doing it. In hopes that it validates my experience. You know what I mean? Like
I
it's
wish
that
I
kind of
agreed
thing.
with that analogy, but I don't, because on the other side of hazing is when you finally make it into the fraternity or whatever, and then you're treated like a king. And in this, he thinks that the reward is the 80-hour work week itself, and that you should be happy you have a chance to do it. And it's like,
No, it's a good clarification for sure. I just
I don't know. Well, I mean, speaking of response, since there's only a few minutes left on this topic,
Yeah.
talk about, I don't know, probably Ron.
So the best part I think that came out of this was Rami Ishmael's from Vlambeer, the Renaissance man of the indie gaming industry. I think it's fair to say had an excellent response in that he basically just carved out chunks of this guy's article, printed them in bold, and responded them, almost like as line items, and then just kind of went down the way. On top of that, and I think you guys should all go read it, because Rami's response is pretty well articulated and represented the exact person that Alex St. John was talking to. And the retort was, at least kind of even the playing field to a certain degree. But was more telling was the response from St. John's own daughter, who works in the industry, and basically kind of distanced herself from her own father in a way.
More than that.
Yeah, I was trying to be generous, but it was basically like, this attitude is not sustainable. It represents something that is sexist and racist and ableist and a bunch of different things, and wasn't something that she wanted anything to fucking do with. First of all, it was more about separating herself, but at the same time representing a very similar tone to the way that Rami handled it too. So
she stepped up mostly because he used her name and
likeness
and image in like a couple presentations related to this, and she felt it necessary to be like, hi, I wanted nothing to do with that, and I'm not a fan of my father, basically.
That's kind of this. At what point do you not back your father from making a decision though? Like that's kind of like,
what?
No. I'm saying like
Oh my God.
this is a ridiculous like situation for him to be in. It's like, at what point would I force my daughter into a situation that she would react this way to something I said?
That question makes a little more sense
Sure,
than
sure.
the first way I took it. How far does the apple fall from the tree is really like the question here, and then roll away, which is, thank God for her, it rolled down a hill or something.
No, exactly. I mean, but this guy's one of the guys responsible for, he was on the original DirectX team, works Wild Tangent now. But like, again, the irony here is this guy's own marriage disintegrated. Like he fell victim to crunch and insane work hours and everything else, like on multiple levels. Like there were testimonials in these articles about not just specifically about him, but also about him and things that were, part of the fallout of working in these conditions. And I think this is what made Rami's response so applicable, because I think anybody who's been around it has seen it to some degree. We saw it at school to a certain degree. We saw it, with people that we know in the industry, and it's crunch is a real thing, and sometimes unavoidable to some degree, unless
there's a certain kind of crunch that works, but
there's an approach to it. Yeah.
Yes, and you should. There's a lot of there's a ton of, to throw the word around, passion again, that gets that emanates throughout a studio when you're reaching that kind of crunch period, and you've got a milestone due or whatever, and you really you kind of band together, and it's kind of a cool bonding experience to do. But there is definitely an extent of it, and there are definitely people that take advantage of it and take it outside of what it means to crunch, and just basically say, okay, now we're in a perpetual state of that, and that's the part where he seems to think that's okay.
Tim, for a streamer, I imagine that, like, for you guys, a crunch period would be doing like some sort of insane 12, 24 hour or longer kind of stream, right? In which, like, there are things like longevity and wakefulness and focus come into play to a certain degree, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
So have you done something like that in the past as part of like one of your streams, and how do you end up kind of dealing with it in that regard?
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's just like you'll try to do for charity. So I love doing St. Jude.
Right.
We do every year. This Play Live is what St. Jude does every year. So I'll do like a 24-hour stream, and I try to set a goal. So last year we raised like almost $10,000 in a 24-hour period.
Nice.
So those are crunches like that, but it's so hard from someone who is in my position, who just plays the games. Like, we really don't have like I don't think we have an appreciation for what developers have to go through with that. But at the same time, I feel like this crunch is almost becoming a standard for the industry, and it's kind of like you were saying, it's unacceptable to a certain point. It's becoming a norm. Like, you always hear about the developers going into crunch mode now, and it kind of has this negative connotation attached to it at the same time, which is it's kind of frustrating for you guys, for people that are in that line of work.
Yeah, it doesn't. The thing is, it doesn't have to be, and that's where it kind of hurts more. Is that there's actually a way to do it that can really band people together and make a cool thing, because you are passionate about it. It's about kind of honing in on that. But it's when it's just ongoing that's the part that sucks. When management goes, well, for 2 weeks you guys did amazing things. Why can't you do amazing things like that
all the time?
All the time,
right? Like for sprints specifically,
right?
Using a production methodology and or terminology for that matter. But yes, there are times when like if you do it for a week every couple months, that makes arguably a certain amount of sense. But when you're doing it for months at a time, like that's when you get things like burnout and
why don't you just
relationships
use-
and like your personal health levels and your personal lives for that matter start disintegrating to a certain degree. And again, the irony with St. John is that his marriage did dissolve because he was working insane hours for long extended periods of time, and that he can still sit there after all these years and write the article about, oh, that was a fucking necessary thing. Everybody should do this. Like, if you don't want to, then fuck you and get out of the industry and make a slot for the guy who does want to do it. And
That's so fucked up.
Right? Exactly.
So
That's
fucked
it.
up.
I'm gonna quit my job tomorrow and just like open up that slot for the next guy, I guess.
but that's-
fuck it.
Turnover rates.
And I imagine, and Chris,
Turn and burn,
maybe
motherfucker.
you can speak to this right now because I imagine that where Lawbreakers is right now. Is
yeah,
that-
and you're going to get fired soon, right?
Oh, for sure.
Oh my god! I imagine that you guys have had some pretty intense weeks recently, right? But like, is it ongoing, or is there at least a break in between every once in a while?
It depends on like the discipline, right? And then also kind of what we're working towards. So I mean, we had like a big press event. All these like preview articles came out today, and it was awesome. But like we all had to put in some pretty long hours to make that happen, to make sure that everyone had a good time, to make sure that the build was good. And then of course we're going to be at PAX East, so that was a lot of people putting in some pretty long hours to make sure the build was like solid for PAX East. But that's kind of like not like this mandatory like everyone like fucking hunker down and like get this shit done, or like you're all going to get like
Shut up
flogged.
and like it kind of attitude.
Yeah, no,
like,
it's kind of just like, yo, this is what we need to do. This is what it needs to be done by. Like, let's make it happen.
Yeah,
and
go
then
do.
once we're on the other side of it, like, then, if we did a good job, then we can kind of like enjoy seeing the results of that, instead of like kind of getting, disappointed that we didn't accomplish what we set out to do.
Sure.
So yeah, it kind of just like, it goes up and down. We have lulls where it's like, all right, things are kind of chill now, and then we can kind of work at a steadier pace. So I think that's more of a sustainable way to do it than to just like lock everyone down for like 6 months with 80-hour weeks and like catered food on the weekends and never see your family again.
right, sleep under your desk kind of situation.
Yeah, because then like you get like there are real like health problems as well as creative burnout that like negatively impact the end result, which I don't think anybody
personal
wants.
problems in general. Exactly.
You just got to remember where the term sprint comes from, an analogy towards running. And if you were to run at as fast as you can for a fucking half marathon, you'd probably keel over and die.
If you could run full speed for a half marathon,
good luck is the point.
you're a superhero.
But I guess my idea is, a sprint is that it's that where you muster up that final energy to get to the finish line, or
it's
to
adrenaline,
pass in it.
it's a bunch of different factors coming into play.
And they're not long lasting experiences, and they can't be, because you will die if you keep trying to do
it's
something.
not sustainable
that
for long periods. That's why they
Yeah.
call it a sprint.
Right.
Yeah, no,
and that
totally.
should be carried over. And so forgive me for having a slave wage mentality by thinking I deserve to get paid for what I do, but whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And all right, we're gonna move on. Call it. Number two. Jeff Goins is a full-time writer who posted an intriguing little piece on Medium.com. It made the rounds in our circles, and we thought it would be worth talking about on the show. A lot of us made some dramatic choices and sacrifices to chase our dream jobs, those being in the games industry. He writes about how overnight success is a myth, and real positive change comes from small incremental ones over time. So I am interested to explore this a little bit, and the way I kind of actually want to start with this is I'm going to pose it to Tim, because I imagine that you probably, like you said, had a job at Best Buy before you became a full-time streamer.
Yeah.
I imagine I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that leaving Best Buy to become a full-time streamer maybe wasn't like a heart-wrenching decision to make.
No, the heart-wrenching decision to make was me deciding not to become a doctor.
See, this is it.
Streamer. Like I have
Now we're
a
talking.
biology degree. Yeah. When I read this point, I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I actually went to school to become a doctor. Like that was the whole plan. Like that's what I wanted to do. But I've always played video games. I mean, I honestly cannot think back to a time where I wasn't playing a video game. Like I can remember when I was little playing the Nintendo. Playing the Super Nintendo, the N64, and like all these. There's always a time in my life where I remember playing video games. So yeah, I went to school and did all this studying and all these crazy classes that I was always questioning myself, why am I doing this? Like I've got this passion for it and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And then this crazy thing on Twitch started, and I made the decision to stop pursuing that thing that I've been working so hard for, and to try something different. Like, how many people can really say that they get paid to play video games?
Yeah.
When you, in the grand scheme of things, not many. A very small percentage of people are successful at doing this. So, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to ride the train as far as it goes. And, you know, if it lasts for 5 months, if it lasts for a year, if it lasts for 10 years, whatever, as long as I can say that I did it and I put everything into it, then awesome. So yeah, no, I actually had to make that decision to give up on one dream to chase another one. And I'm glad that I did it.
I have a follow-up question, actually, because this is kind of related to some of the things that the article mentioned. How many people do you know kind of attribute what you do to some kind of weird overnight success, even though you put a bunch of work into it? You know, we're like, oh, and now he's suddenly a streamer, even though you probably worked really hard before just walking away from Best Buy, right?
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people that look at me from like a viewer's perspective. I don't think personally, not a lot of people. Like my family members know, my wife knows, close friends know how much time and effort goes into this. It's not just turning on a game and turning on a camera and turning on the stream every day. It's more than that. It's prep. It's going to these conventions and networking. Right. It's going out to these developers and being a part of their sessions of feedback and things like that. Like I went to the Lawbreaker studio and I got to play Lawbreakers. I've done things with EA and with them. I've done things with 2K and other studios. And those are all relationship building adventures. You know, it's a lot of work. It's strenuous. It's difficult. To just play a video game for a long stretch of time is one thing, but to continuously and actively engage with the audience and all that stuff, it's a lot of work. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. So I think a lot of the viewers really think that it's, oh, you're not doing anything. It's like, oh, it was very easy. I could do that. You know, anyone can do this. It's difficult. It's definitely very difficult.
So you might take a little bit of umbrage if somebody told you that, like, oh, you're a successful streamer after 2 years, which I think anybody that knows anything about streaming would say that's a relatively
long time. Actually,
it is a long time. But at the same time, like, you hear about other streamers that have like 6 or 8 years and you know, doing it on YouTube or back when Justin TV was still hot and everything else.
Oh yeah.
But if people came to you and said that it happened overnight for you, you would probably be like, no, that's not really true.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand like where they see that coming from, because there's definitely a lot of people out there that are doing a lot longer than I have. Like you're saying, like there are people that have been doing it since the beginning of Twitch, you know, before when it was Justin.tv. And so, I mean, I guess I could see why some people would say that, oh, it just happened overnight, but in the grand scheme of things, it really didn't. It took a lot of fucking hard work.
And that's great to hear, because that's kind of indicative of what this is saying. This was kind of a clickbaity title, the idea that like, you can't chase your dreams, bullshit. Like, that's not really what it meant.
If you quit your job to go chase your dream, you're going to fail.
Stop. Everybody just give up on your dreams.
At the same time, like looking at it from other streamers, like I can see why they could say that, because I mean, I attribute a lot to this as luck. I mean, I feel like I was just the right place at the right time, and I met the right people, and they kind of aligned me in the right direction. And I know that there's people out there that have said, I'm going to go full-time streaming. I'm gonna buy all this equipment, and I'm going to do it. And, you know, 3 months later, they're selling their equipment, and they're like, oh, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm not making any money. I've got to go back to my job and all that stuff. So, I mean, like, at the same time, it sucks. And there's definitely a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of people out there that want to be full-time YouTubers. They want to do all these things that they really have a passion for. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm sure it's the same way in the gaming industry or the game development industry, that it's becoming very inundated. Everybody wants to do it, and it's becoming harder and harder to get in there and actually make something of it,
or at least create their own mark to stand out to a certain degree.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's like pretty much similar with the indie community as well, right? So you see maybe some indie devs that come out of nowhere and they have this like breakout success, and then people are like, all right, well, overnight success or one hit wonder or whatever. And I mean, like, some people, like, their first indie game does kind of take off, right? But there's like this whole backstory, right? Not to like go back to the article that we were talking about before, but it's easy to like not really like see all of the like culmination of things that the person had to do to get to the point where they could actually like finally ship and then enjoy the fruits of their labor. And how many people like go through that exact same process, and then for whatever reason their game is not successful, and it's like, all right, well, I guess I'm back to square one now. Do I give up, or do I take everything that I learned and then I sink 2 more years into it and try it again and see what happens?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's kind of like a message in preparation, even not necessarily
That you should give up.
Right. But maybe you should have thought this through before you made the decision.
Yeah.
One of the things I guess I learned quite a few years ago when I was in the Air Force, when I was leaving the Air Force, they said, hey, you're looking for a new job, you better have a job already while you're doing it. If I'm looking for a new job, I need to already be currently employed before I start looking for a new job. And I feel like that's kind of the same way. If I need to have a dream, I need to have already have thought that out a little bit before I actually
due diligence.
Done some due diligence, put a little bit effort into not necessarily a little bit, probably a lot of effort into actually thinking about where this decision is going to lead me. I can't just leave my job, make an indie success that's going to sell 100 million copies and make my money. I'm going to have to be employed at that time while I'm thinking about this, and
it's the tipping point. This is indicative of the tipping point.
Yeah, there's
a whole lot of Malcolm Gladwell happening.
The 10,000 hours, the tipping point,
all of it.
All you can do is put shit in the bucket, and then until it fills up. Don't take anything out of it.
Then you got a bucket full of shit.
Yeah,
and then
there's put shit in a bucket. This is. I'm pretty sure I could write a self-help book. It's called Shit in a Bucket.
And there's a lot to be said about that too. And not to cut you off, Nick, but the whole self-help thing does kind of parallel this entire attitude of the fact that yes, doing the thing that you want to do is worth doing, but you need to prepare yourself to do it.
And you also need to kind of start doing it already before you're actually doing it for a living.
It's a weird combination of things.
If I wanted to release an indie title like Mega Hit or something, I had better have been preparing that before I already quit my job.
Yeah.
I should have the documents drawn out. I should have probably a prototype. I should have other people who want to work on it with me before I even quit my job, before I could just to go follow my dream. I should have my dream already figured out how I'm going to accomplish. I should have a spreadsheet showing me how I'm going to accomplish my dream before I quit my job to accomplish my dream.
Those are called Dreamboards for normal people, right?
A dream board.
I think they're called Kanban boards, and that's how you get things produced.
Well, because the universe gives it to you if you put it out there.
Oh, I think you're just talking about the secret, quote unquote. if you say it into the world, it'll come back to you. That kind of thing.
Nobody should ever have the mis idea of thinking that I can just quit my job, go do this one thing, and then I'll suddenly be successful.
And that's kind of the nature of what the article is really about. It's
it could happen though. It
won't happen. It could happen. It won't happen.
It probably won't.
The odds are not on your side. And I have a follow-up question because we actually don't know this information. Tim, when did you quit Best Buy?
Yeah.
When did I quit Best Buy?
Yeah, where did you say I'm quitting Best Buy and now I'm going to become a streamer, or was there at least something happening on?
You're not still working there currently, are you?
No, hell no. That was a horrible job. No, I was actually streaming. It wasn't as consistent as it was now. I mean, now I'm doing 50 hours a week of streams, but I mean, I had a smaller base. It was there. I had some money flowing in. It was there. I was comfortable enough to where it was at the point where I could say, this could work. Let's see what happens. And I made sure that I didn't burn any bridges with Best Buy. I didn't just walk in and fuck you guys, I'm gone. It's like, hey, I'm gonna try to play video games for a living when I talked to my manager that was leaving, and he looked at me and he's like, well, you can always come back if you want to.
Right.
Call me in a couple weeks when it doesn't work out.
Fucking Philistine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
6 months later, I walk in and I found out a couple of the guys that work there had been watching me. So that was a really cool feeling too. Is they knew how successful I had gotten from doing it. But I knew I made sure that things were okay when I went on that venture, when I went on that exploration of could I make Twitch a full-time thing.
So there you go. There's a living example right
It's
there
sorta
for everyone out
interesting.
there.
Like I actually worked at Best Buy as well. That was like my first real retail job.
How cute.
Which I segued into GameStop.
Mine was
which I
GameStop, dude.
segued into doing the Destructoid stuff, which was like to figure out how to like do the game development thing. So it was like it's very much this like process, right? Where like, okay, I kind of know sort of where, like what destination I'm shooting for, and then you step through each of those things as you figure out the next one. You're like, all right, cool. Like I'm kind of comfortable leaving this thing and going and doing this thing now, and so on and so forth, until you're like, all right, cool. Like I sort of like got to where I was hoping to get to. Like now what do I do next to like maintain that and move on to the next thing?
Yeah. Tim, did you go in when you said you returned to Best Buy in 6 months? Did you go in there and start throwing cash at everybody and buying stuff?
making it rain.
Was not making it rain. No, the Twitch money is not real. It is a lie. We don't have like private jets and stuff. I promise.
All right. Well, the guy can dream.
Well, it's disappointing. There goes my dream.
I'm kind of disappointed too. I was hoping you're gonna be like, yo, next time you guys want to do a show, I'll fly you guys out to Florida. No, I'm kidding, man. But right on. But like the point is that you're making like a solid living. But it also in context of in parallel to the article that we're talking about, you're telling me that it was not an overnight success. There was some preparation. There was some forethought and like
Spreadsheets.
Right. Some Excel.
I wouldn't go as far as like Dreamboards and spreadsheets, but there definitely was some forethought before going balls to the wall with the full time thing.
No, right on.
Totally.
Right on.
Number 3.
All right. Just last thought, real quick, and then you can say number 3 again.
Okay.
You guys want to go work in games? You guys want to go be a streamer? You guys want to do something with entertainment, like something that you feel like you would love, that you've done your whole life, that you would want to turn into a career? Plan on making a career. Don't just decide on it. Just plan on it.
Yeah. Start doing it now, whatever that means.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
well,
I
you're
feel like in the great words of Shia LaBeouf, just do it.
Well done. Well
Can
done.
the episode title be Shia LaBeouf, please?
That's it. Just Shia LaBeouf.
that sounds a little long for Twitter.
Get out of here.
All right. Number 3.
Number 3. With the recent major update to Tom Clancy's Division, they introduced their first incursion update, and it didn't take long for players to uncover a glaring exploit. They could. I'm sure Tim
fun.
has plenty to say on this. They could clip through a wall, skip the boss, and take a bunch of endgame loot. One of Ubisoft's community managers stated in their forums that players who abused this exploit would be punished. So, because they shipped something broken, and people took advantage of it, as players do, especially in multiplayer games and a very large AAA level like this, they feel that they need to maybe kind of hurt their fan base, which is kind of interesting. Or is this an appropriate action? Or maybe it seems heavy-handed. Based on the dramatic and heavy sigh that we got over Skype just now, I'm gonna hand this to Tim and say I know that we've been checking out your stream, especially in build up to this weekend. We've been checking out some of your Division videos. How did you feel about this? Did you take advantage of it straight up? And how do you feel about Ubisoft's response to it?
Yeah, so this whole the incursion. First, I'm gonna say no, because I watched some streamers do it and it looked so boring. Like you just sitting there in front of this boss, this big APC that's supposed to be raining down mortars of death upon you, and it's supposed to be really intimidating, and it's really difficult. Like the first time we went in there, when the incursion first came out day one, like it was a very intimidating experience. Like it wasn't something that we were expecting. We were kind of hoping for something a little bit more Division, or Destiny-esque in the Division, hoping for like that vault of glass raid, and it wasn't. It was just waves of enemies. So
you totally just stole the joke out of my mouth by saying that. But well done, well done, well done.
But anyways, this whole glitch thing it's extremely boring, and it's ruining the end game experience for these players. And it's not ruining it for them because they've already ruined it for themselves, but it's ruining it for the entire player base because the Division developers have had to find ways of managing the economy and changing all these things up to make the end game experience different and to make it actually work. These people are blowing through the gear score. They're getting all this end game loot that they shouldn't have yet. They have credits up the wazoo. Like, they've been abusing the crap out of this game, and it's ruining it for everyone. I can understand why they're a little upset with wanting to punish these players that have abused the Division, but there's other things that I think they really need to worry about before they start punishing these players. They need to really get their stuff fixed. It's got to be frustrating for them, because how would they know that the mobile cover would be able to glitch them through a wall? Like, they wouldn't know that. That's got to be very frustrating for them. So
here's what I gotta say real quick is, like, they knew this before. They knew the mobile cover glitched people through walls before this expansion came out. Like, they knew it could clip through doors and stuff, but I don't think they knew it was going to go through a wall. I was going through walls, and like the Russian consulate mission, the daily mission it ends with a helicopter, and like people are coming through you. You're coming out of a building. I can't remember everything about it, but
you're talking about the end game for the regular.
I'm talking Russian consulate before the incursions came out. Like, you could run up, you'd glitch through the wall, you run up straight to where the boss is, bypassing everybody, you glitch through the wall, you reset him, and then you just kill him over and over again. They obviously, and this was a few weeks ago, like a month ago. This was before the new expansion came out.
They should have disabled mobile cover.
They should have taken it out before the incursion came out, because they didn't know people would be using it to do this, and then they already had this content plan to come out, and they didn't further test it against this glitch where people could like go through walls with this thing. Like, all you got, it's
that makes it so much worse to me.
Like,
that information.
There's more to this, but go ahead, keep going.
The fact that they're punishing people for the fact that they didn't even realize, the fact that they did realize that it was a problem and didn't do anything about it when they released an expansion, because they were just trying to push out this expansion as fast as they could. And I was running out of breath as I was saying that.
Take a breath. Take a breath. It's okay.
Do you know we're human? You can go.
Yeah.
But no, it's not. They knew that it was there before the expansion came out. They should have delayed the expansion, if anything. Like, people would have been upset, but then they wouldn't have to go on this rampage of punishing players.
Well, I think I took a serious downturn for the Division that came out as a like Tim said, like kind of like Destiny version, like a different type of game. They came out to widely acclaimed reviews, and I don't know, I played the shit out of it. It was fun.
I had a lot of fun with the game.
But this expansion kind of like process and everything else has been kind of tainted, and
yes,
I wonder how they're going to kind of like, recover from it, because obviously a patch is forthcoming. But what makes this interesting is as people use this exploit, it's a multiplayer thing, right? So as players that play within a community continue to upgrade themselves legitimately or otherwise, it creates a very kind of a bottleneck for players that want to play on a legit level, and that makes it more difficult. But at the same time, they all breaking news wise, like they released a patch today and they fixed a bunch of exploits. This was not one of the ones they fixed.
It's not.
They pushed through two different variations of a patch on the server side that has supposedly fixed this. So the first the APC could take any damage. You could shoot it, you could throw grenades at it, and it would take damage. Well, they found out people were abusing that. So then they said, okay, you can't shoot it. Only explosives were hurt it. Well, then they started doing the BFB glitch. So they would be launching the grenades at it. Jeez. Okay, so now the APC can't take any damage except from the C4 that you have to put. If you guys are familiar with the incursion, you have to go through 3 times putting C4 on the back of the APC and it blows up. Well, apparently now, after this hot fix came through this morning, someone apparently found another glitch where they could glitch on top of the APC where they're floating in midair above it, and they could aggro the grenadiers to then throw grenades at the APC, which would then be considered as friendly fire, and they'd kill the APC.
Oh my god!
For you.
So
the rate at which these people are finding these glitches
is alarming.
Bugs,
it's very alarming.
It's really scary. Like within 30 minutes, this Reddit post came up and he said, "Haha, I figured it out. Here we go."
Now it's like a game in and of itself. It's like a meta game
Yes.
where like all the
Yes, it
players
is.
are like, "Oh, you fixed it? Bullshit! I'll find something."
Fuck your fix. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, totally. But let's remember, right? Like when the original version of this game called Destiny came out, and they had the loot cave problem.
Destiny.
Oh God.
They had the loot cave problem. Like
Right,
Destiny
right.
didn't turn around and start punishing players
They fixed
for
it.
taking advantage of it. They let it ride while they figured out the problem, and then they fixed it.
but
And
they-
yes, and you could argue that there are still occasional fixes that are problems, but we haven't had one on this kind of MMO role playing game, action game, first person shooter style thing since the loot cave until now.
The way I view this is maybe at some point they said like we would like to find some kind of compensation to properly like penalize these players for performing exploits in the game.
But instead,
And
they
it got-
award everybody Phoenix
and it
points.
got blown out of proportion to the point where like, oh, Ubisoft says they're going to fucking penalize, they're going to punish people who like exploit.
Yes.
I don't think that's what they said. I think they said like we're going to find some way to penalize people for doing this, and what they decided on in the end was to give everybody a bunch of credits instead to to compensate them for not exploiting. So it didn't actually turn out to be a punishment. But the article said, like, we're going to punish people. Like, it was something that got kind of blown out of proportion, I feel like, a little bit.
Well, wasn't it like the original community manager post was basically stating that they were going to find like some sort of way to penalize people that were taking advantage of the exploit, and then that's where it kind of got blown out of proportion a bit from that point.
I suppose,
Yeah,
but
they were saying that they were going to throw like 3-day bans or something out.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
They
okay,
just
so
didn't
at
act-
least
that
they
wasn't-
quantified it to some degree.
The
'cause-
actions didn't match the words, essentially, but,
Yes,
but still,
yes.
things were said, and it made everyone probably freak out or whatever.
As a-
I think that because we got to move on soon, but I'm curious. Like one last thought, maybe that you guys might have about this is this indicative of a larger problem of that when games are starting to not starting, but have made the turn into more online avenues where an economy in and of itself lives inside of this game. That didn't used to be the case if we go back to when we were all playing Nintendo and shit.
But
right?
even
So
like Halo
if-
Online wasn't. There was no
right.
economy involved.
So, for example, this is exactly so. Halo 2, for example, with the crazy ass super jump glitch that everybody found, became kind of a part of the game. It could have been something they patched, but it didn't affect anyone in the long run if they decided to, let's say, fix it one day. Whereas now, these kind of games that have these flourishing economies and people who are working really hard to get to a certain place with their character, something like this is detrimental to so basically the risk is so much higher than it ever was as a developer, because one little fuck up like a glitch through a wall could ruin your whole structure
this is welcome to MMOs. Like that's
Right.
that's something
To a certain
that people have been
degree,
dealing
yes.
with for like the past 10 years or something on MMOs.
I don't even know that it's to a certain degree. I think it's like 100% like
Well,
correct.
maybe
to what
maybe
Nick was
Tim can
saying.
speak to this to a certain degree, like to some level at all, because what we have here becomes it's like you want to try and be great for your viewers about playing the game well, but at the same time you also want to be great about working the economy. That's like what do I trade in or what do I sell and how do I get the best weapons? How do I do all that and still keep that entertaining, right? But so it's not just about being a streamer, but it's also about keeping like the combat thing
guide?
versus the economy thing, and then making that entertaining. Like that's gotta be like a really fucking complicated thing to do when you're if you're streaming a game like this, but at the same time, even as a player, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, it's got to be frustrating and a level of engagement when you're trying to do all this stuff and you're trying to make it fun and for your viewers, and like everyone knows that there's just a way like, that you can just exploit it and just beat the game right away. Like what's really the point at when you're doing it legitimately? Everyone's like,
Right.
oh, I can just glitch it and be done with it. So it kind of ruins it. It ruins it really for everyone at the end of the day.
No, fair enough. And I don't know. You want to go see some quality Division streams? You should follow my boy Darkness429. Just saying.
unless he left the game.
Yeah, right.
No,
Or
no,
was banned.
it's definitely started to slow down a little bit. 'Cause
That's good.
It's on the PC end, the hacking is the biggest issue that we have to deal with.
Of
right
course,
now.
as always.
Hacking
Yeah.
Dark Zone.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna take a quick, short, truncated break to fill you in on this week's contest results. We're gonna be back in a second.
Last week, we offered up a copy of Enter the Gungeon. This roguelike bullet hell is just what the doctor ordered. Take it from us. We're doctors. We're excited to announce the winner is Carlos L. Congrats. We hope you enjoy it. All right, back to the show.
All right, welcome back, everybody. All right, panel, it's time for the lightning round. As always, that's how we finish out the show. Here's how it works. We're going to take 2 quick topics and give each member of the panel, well, maybe we'll cut it short this time, but we'll see, a minute to chime in uninterrupted for the most part. At the end of each minute, we will award the panelist a quantity of some type of points based on 0 things in particular.
0 things.
So, topic number 1. After some rumor and conjecture, it appears that Sony has some internal documents floating around that confirms the upcoming release of an upgraded PlayStation. They're calling it the Neo. Aside from some graphical and processing boosts, it'll support 4K gaming. But the most interesting part is that developers will be required to provide base and Neo modes. So, after 3 years from the new console release, how do we reconcile the fact that now we're getting a secondary console for one that already exists? And how does PlayStation not, fuck up its player base based on this fact, right? They've already sold 36 million PlayStations. I want to get a minute from PlayStation fanboy number 1, Mr. Chris Morris.
Oh man, it's so true. It's kind of sad. I actually sort of expected that this was going to happen, and I think it's sort of a double-edged sword. However, if they really stick to their guns and that developers can take advantage of the power without compromising the games for the base console users, then that's sort of a good direction to go, because they kind of need to do this for the PSVR stuff anyway. It's going to make it hard from a developer's perspective, right? Because you don't want, when you develop for console, it's nice because you don't have to develop for a fractured hardware spec. And so as long as they can kind of people can keep developing games as normal and they don't have to worry about a fractured spec, then it'll be nice. And the end user can benefit from just a single box for their PSVR experience, maybe better performance for games that came out before the upgraded hardware. I don't know, man. It's hard to say. It's kind of one of those contentious topics right now, but I mean, it's sort of it was a natural progression for the PS4, I think, based on all the new VR stuff.
I'm going to give you 4,000 slow claps in the golf style for a well-addressed and well-spoken minute based on all the hot points of this issue. And I say 4,000 because 4K, and that makes it relevant to this issue.
Oh, yeah.
Jokes, everybody,
is
jokes.
It 4K horizontally or vertically?
It doesn't matter. Mr. Arroyo.
Sure. Okay.
Give me a minute.
Yeah, this is one of the very first things that I think is incredibly indicative of the big console companies moving themselves towards accepting the idea that we're going to be in a PC gaming world and that we should have been kind of in the first place, in that they're just consoles are just PCs now, and they're constantly going to get swapped out. And now making a couple upgrades to it is not enough to constitute a new console release, because people are starting to understand that all they're doing is a new CPU and a new more hard drive space and stuff like that. So pretty soon it's going to be just kind of the PC master race, and too bad, so sad. Fractured spec is what you deal with with PC in general, so it shouldn't be new to developers. I think they should be just doing what they always do to make stuff for PC, and then it's just going to work for all the consoles because they're just fucking PCs, and that's all they need to be. And I'm a console player, but I just know that this is what's going to happen. So I accept. I'm just glad that it's not called the PlayStation 1.
4.5.
I'm going to award you one PlayStation 4.5. We're apparently not allowed to call it that anymore, but you get one. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Golish.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. Give me a minute about how you feel about the prospect of a new upgraded PlayStation.
This is
First person to ask.
No, it's a little silly. I mean, the 3DS already did this. They had an early version of 3DS, which I have, and they have the newer version, which runs the same games but better. But if you don't have the new one, you can't run some of the newer games, which is kind of really sucks for a console player. Because console players, they buy a console for the ease of use. Like, hey, I can play every game on this console. I can buy an extra Xbox 360 game. I can play it on my Xbox 360. Now I buy a 3DS game, and I can't run it on my 3DS with the 3D settings because the processor isn't good enough for it to run. And we're going to run into the same issue with the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and we're going to get these consoles that come out. They're going to be the Xbox 1.5, the PlayStation 4.5,
The Xbox 720.
yeah. And you're like, I get this game that I can't play unless I buy a new version of it, and it's really weird for me because I play PC games. I like PC games. I like upgrading my PC. And
Not the game, yeah.
And now,
or downloading a patch at best.
And now I expect my friends who are console players to do the same, which I don't have that much expectation in them because I don't feel like, I don't know, they can't do it as well as a PC player.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I'm going to award you one Steam controller so that you can play all your...
Any game I want on it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, isn't that great? Tim, if you would be so kind as to be the final minute on this particular topic.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, this is definitely something that I thought was going to happen, especially with the way that the original PlayStation 4 games ran, and then they were starting to push the whole VR idea, and then PlayStation VR showed up, but they could barely run some of the games they had out already, like Destiny. Destiny doesn't run really well at 30 frames per second at whatever the resolution, 900p or whatever it is. And then they were going to we're going to do VR. How does that work? It doesn't work on the platform they have now. But I think people are going to feel really cheated because nothing really came out for the PlayStation 4. What really came out for that console? Not a lot.
Bloodborne.
Yeah. That's about it. And Uncharted. So
next month,
okay, cool. Yeah, next month we get Uncharted. Great. I mean, I'm really glad.
Right.
I'm really I play everything on PC. Like, I have an Xbox that I bought, and I was given a PlayStation 4. So I don't feel as cheated because I'll probably end up getting the new PlayStation when it comes out because there are some games that I'm really excited for. But I feel bad for the people that bought a PlayStation for Christmas last year.
Good point.
Because then they're gonna have to buy another PlayStation. So it is frustrating, but this is definitely, like you said, this is definitely the realm that we're moving into, where things are gonna become modular. I definitely see that the new gaming consoles are gonna have these swappable parts, where you just are able to just, as upgrades come in, you take the old one out, you pop the new one in.
It's it's more of a PC kind of culture.
I think they have to.
Definitely.
Things are advancing too fast for them not to.
Yeah.
We're gonna
we're gonna plateau, but at some point it's going to.
Right.
Arguably, maybe we already have, and we're just ignorant to it, right? But okay, so I'm going to award you 429 copies of PS4 Bloodborne: The Darkness Edition.
The Dark Souls edition.
Yeah. Well, I just as a reminder that there was a good PS4 game. And it was also called Rocket League too. That's a good PS4 game. But anyway,
that came out on PC. So
no, that's true. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Some of the best PS4 games have been PS3 remakes.
True. Topic number 2 for the lightning round. GameStop is getting into the game publishing game. You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. They formed the Game Trust and have a few titles under development. So not only will they be crowding their own shelves with their own games, but I'm curious about how little they're going to buy their own game back for. I'm curious how broad their platform spectrum will be as well. Are they going to develop for PC as well as all the major platform, console platforms? Is there a market here that they're tapping that makes sense, or is there just a weird industry? Is it just a weird industry crossover moment? I abstained from the last round, so I'll start this one.
It's a good way to use your minute.
GameStop. You have a special place in my heart because it gives me a chance to think that I have some control over the games that I own, when I absolutely do, but you make me think that I shouldn't think that way. And I want you to know that by you publishing games, I think it's very interesting because I'm already not getting enough money for the things that I take advantage of your skewed systems for. And I'm still grateful for them, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to know that I can trade in a copy of The Division, for instance, about a month after playing it and still get like $20 for it. That's cool. But when you guys are publishing your own games, are you gonna still have a balanced sort of economy that reflects that in the same way? And if this is a reaction to a changing industry, I think, not for nothing, dude, good on you for exploring this option. That's what I'm going to say.
Tim, in the interest of our host going, you actually, our guest gets to award him points. So feel free to give him whatever you felt like that minute was worth.
Oh, man, I'm going to give him a beer. One beer.
One beer.
Get a beer.
Just a beer. Thank you.
Get a beer.
Was it
because I'm down to my last one, so I needed a new one. Thank you.
Is it a beer? Was it a good pour, or like a beer that's like poured terribly and there's just head all over like flowing?
Yeah, it has good head on it.
Okay.
Oh wow, we all love good.
Stop.
Okay,
Don't
all
even.
right,
We're good. And moving on.
The obvious joke. All right.
Yeah. Low hanging fruit.
Who's
Mr. Golish.
Hey,
We're just gonna go right back around the horn here in the opposite direction.
I didn't really like your point that much.
Okay. Tell me why.
I'm trying to remember it, but what was it again?
TikTok.
GameStop is publishing.
Oh, yeah, you're okay. This is what I thought about the entire time. The whole entitlement of people being able to feel like they spent a whole ton of money on something they thought they would enjoy to trade it in to get money back to buy something else is ridiculous to me. Like, the idea of you being able to buy a game and then this may not have anything to do with the article at all, but it just has something to do with what you said.
Don't stop. Just keep going.
I know. You felt like, hey, I buy this game, I can get $20 back for it, but I feel like you should feel responsible for buying that game anyways, and just because you're getting money back from it doesn't make it a... God,
He said you're not entitled.
you're not entitled to get money back for a game that you spent money on.
Okay. You're good. Your minute's up, but I'm going to award you a 6-month subscription to Game Informer magazine.
Thank you. I wanted that because I didn't actually want it in the first place. But thank you, GameStop.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe that's the statement you were trying to make. Is that maybe this is something that GameStop offers, but I don't necessarily want. But all right, Mr. Arroyo.
Yeah. Hi. Can anyone else say conflict of interest?
Sure.
Because
I can't.
No? Okay. I didn't think so after that minute. I feel like this is such a weird situation to be in. Like, you're going to sell your own games. You're going to make them. They're going to be the ones on the end cap. They're going to put them under their, like, hot releases section in the store. They're always going to put them at the front end, and it's going to be like, oh, we can't wait for this game, because the average consumer doesn't really know and or care who makes the product. They just buy the product if it's good or bad. And how do they know if it's good or bad unless somebody tells them that it's good or bad? So when the person who makes the game gets to tell you how good it is and you've been believing them for years, then you're basically putting yourself in that situation to be able to push yourself out there and not anyone else. So maybe congratulations, GameStop, because it's the smartest thing ever, but I feel like it's also kind of fucked up.
No, fair enough. I'm going to award you one superior management position at a GameStop affiliate.
I was an assistant manager at GameStop,
Yeah, I had a feeling.
in case you were wondering. All right.
Is it my turn? Is it my turn?
No, it's not. I'm sorry.
Let him have him.
All right,
ahead.
Chris, go ahead. And we'll give the last minute to our guest, of course. But Chris, you got the next minute. Go.
Okay. I think it's genius. So I can walk into GameStop, get my Game Informer, which I'll read about the games that GameStop is publishing, and then they're going to hook me up with the GameStop discount card. And so then I can go in and I can buy the used GameStop published GameStop games with my GameStop discount card, and I get an extra 10% on top of my already shitty discount or trade-in bonus because it's a GameStop published game.
Well done.
At the end of the day, GameStop just to keep all the fucking money. So they're just like sitting there like, oh yeah, oh.
They've gamified their own game publishing.
Conflict of interest, who the fuck cares? GameStop is sitting there like just like fucking make it rain, bitches, make it rain. And that's
dude.
my minute.
Can I award him points?
Mr. Royal, go ahead.
Chris Morris, I'm going to give you 5 Game Informer magazines where the pages are stuck together.
Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. All right.
So people who trade in
Dead or
GameStop
alive.
games are the bad people.
Maybe.
Oh, stop.
Mr. Havlock, to round us
Yes.
out for our day, can you give us a final minute on the game, the prospect of GameStop getting into game publishing, please?
Again, I think it's a great idea. I mean, it would be like EA opening up their own Electronic Arts game store. I mean, or any other developer opening up their own game store. It's smart, but at the same time, looking at it from another perspective, that's like having Uncle Joe's car store down the road that also makes his own cars and then sells them. It's odd. It's weird that somewhere that you think of like a third party that's supposed to be kind of like unbiased and whatnot, that kind of is not supposed to be publishing the games that they're selling. It's weird. It's something we haven't really seen before. So
Tesla.
it's odd in this industry. But I guess it's also kind of like Walmart. You go to Walmart and you see Walmart food, made by Walmart, sold by Walmart. I don't know. It's
So maybe it's just new to the game industry.
I think it's that, like I said, it's one of those weird crossover things, and I think you addressed it appropriately there, Tim. I'm going to award you one glitch-free copy of Destiny and all of its expansions, but that includes the Division as well. So,
Wait, what?
the Division expansion pack.
Yeah, Destiny.
Well, I want you to have the
Division
Destiny
King.
so that you can make a proper judgment based on of the Division, and then be like, they're essentially the same game, but maybe Division.
Do I have to pay for the expansion pack in the Division?
I would also like to suggest.
In fact, let me amend that. Let me say this. I will give you the ability to do whatever the fuck you want in the Division and not be punished by Ubisoft. How's that?
Yeah, but he doesn't want to do the expansion.
I know that. I'm just saying.
Can I suggest in the future that we don't tell our guests that we're going to give them video games, because then they're actually going to think that we're going to send them one?
I know.
Now we have to.
I know.
Let's try other
We locked
points,
ourselves in.
other points that don't create an
It's fine.
expectation of. Thank you so much for being on the show. Here's your copy of Destiny.
You have to give
This
them
episode sponsored
they
by
don't-
Just
Bungie.
Destiny,
Thanks for
though.
listening,
you can't
guys.
give out anything else, just Destiny.
You got to give them
right.
things they don't want.
Yeah,
No,
give
fair
him shit. He'd be like, no, thank you. I don't want that dirty sock.
To collect this, you're gonna actually have to want it.
I think we've done it though for episode 93. It's in the can. Mr. Havlock, thank you so much for being here, sir. We're stoked to have had the chance to chat with you, and we're very grateful. If you'd be so kind, please tell the folks here listening where they can catch you on your stream or on Twitter at the very least.
Yeah, you can literally just type it in the Google Darkness Forge Tonight and you will find everything.
Okay.
All right there. Just Google me.
All right.
It's pretty easy.
Well, we're fans, and we're gonna keep watching,
Oh,
man.
thank you.
So,
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
man.
keep it up, man. We're pleasure to have you and talk
Yeah,
with
this
you,
is fun.
and we
Yeah,
appreciate
this is
the input, man. Thank you so much.
Yep, thanks very much for coming on the episode, dude.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, dear listener, and know that we're always curious to hear what you think. Hit us up, cheatcodespodcast.com, Facebook page, Twitter page. Get in on the conversation. We appreciate it as always. Make sure you check out our giveaways portion of the site. Nothing new this week, unfortunately, but we should know that, you should know that Carlos L. was the winner of Enter the Gungeon this week, and we'll be back with some more of that very, very, very soon. But keep your eyes on it, because it's always a chance to get free stuff. So let's go crazy, guys. This is a last shout out to Prince. See you next time, everybody, and make sure you go check out Darkness429 on Twitch. In the meantime, we'll see you next week.
Cheers, fellas.